Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Getting back to work on the MR2 in this video. It's been a little while since I've done anything with this car and not any major projects or anything. A lot of cleanup stuff and just little bits and pieces of things I need to fix here and there on the car that I'm going to start tackling in this video. So I'm going to get the camera turned around and start working on the interior. First thing I want to work on is I've got a trim panel behind the driver's seat that ever since I've got this car, it just does not want to stay attached. I've tried replacing the clips and it just still pops loose. So I'm thinking the aftermarket speakers are just interfering with the panel ever so slightly. So need to take it apart, take a look at things, and figure out what is keeping from this staying put. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get to work. So right here is what I'm talking about. This is the panel that's behind the driver's seat. It just always pops loose here. Something's just in the way. I'm not sure what it is. So what I'm going to do is get the seat folded forward. I have a little subwoofer back there I need to get out of the way. And I can start getting this panel taken off, and then just start seeing what the clearancing issues are, why this will not stay snapped in, because I'll put it in there, and then within a day or two or drive and you hit a bump and it pops loose like this and it just flaps around. Just doesn't look that great, not real happy with it. So gonna go ahead and start taking stuff apart. Here is the panel removed, and you can see all the retaining clips are still in place where they're supposed to be. And there's two like little push pins that go in these two holes here that are underneath the storage bin cover or subwoofer cover, depending on what model you have. But either way, anyway, it's this one that just seems to keep popping loose. I did take it out of here and put it in the hole, and it seemed to have some tension, but not a ton. So I'm wondering if I can just replace this clip, and it's just this thing's maybe a little bit worn out. I did kind of check in there. I don't see anything causing clearance issues. This does seem to be fitting how it's supposed to fit. And where the aftermarket speaker is, it's not anywhere near in the way or anything. Right there, that's the hole that clip goes into, and there's nothing around there that should be causing issues. So I'm thinking maybe just refreshing that clip with something new, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more sturdy, will keep this from happening. So I'm gonna go ahead, take that clip, see if I have something in my inventory that I can replace it with, and hopefully keep this panel from popping out of place. I went through my inventory of retainers and I found some red ones that I had laying around, which I trial fit this in the hole, and it definitely fit a lot more snug than the yellow one that I pulled out, but it went in. So I went ahead and put a little foam washer on here. I bought a stockpile of these things. I love them. They work great for isolating vibrations, try and eliminate any noise or whatnot, depending on what you're hooking into. These definitely make a big difference. So I'm gonna go ahead, put this on, and see if we can get this panel to stay into place. All right, new retainer put in place, and there were a couple of clips. If you looked at the last video, the foam, or the last clip, the foam were missing. They were just stuck to the body panel. So went ahead, pulled those back off, put them on their clips. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this panel mounted back in place, and hopefully there will be no more popping of this upper corner. And trim panel is back in place. Just a couple things to mention. Make sure that you tuck this edge behind the retainer, like the hinge retainer, and then again you have the two fasteners that are going to go down there. I haven't put them in place. You can see them sitting right there. And then you do also have to peel up like two fasteners worth of this. Just pull it up a little bit and able to get it in order to get this out from underneath, because this does go under there a little bit. But anyway, it's back in place. Feels a little more snug when I pull on it. I mean, if I pull hard enough, it will pop out, but it definitely feels better than it did. So hopefully that retainer is going to do the trick. Just need to get everything reassembled, put the handles or the trim surround down there, get the subwoofer back in place, and then wipe everything down, and that will be job done, hopefully. All right, everything is put back together where it belongs, so that is that job done. Next thing I'm going to do is start going over cleaning up the interior, just wiping everything down, cleaning the glass, stuff like that. Have not done that yet this year because this car doesn't get driven all that much, so it is definitely a little overdue. I've already wiped this stuff down on this side since I was doing the back seat anyway, or the back storage area. So I'm going to go ahead and continue cleaning the interior. Don't really need to film much of that. I will be back once that is done. All right, job done. Floor mats are all vacuumed out. Got the glass clean and everything wiped down and whatnot. So we are all set as far as the interior goes. So that is off the list and on to the next. So it's been a few weeks since the last clip, and as you can see here, this still isn't holding up with that red one. It just doesn't seem to hold it very tight. It doesn't take much. You hit a bump and it pops loose. So I went through my inventory and I actually have a green one, which seems to be a little sturdier. So I'm going to pull that red pin out and replace it with a green and see if the green will work and see if it holds up any better than the red. If not, then I might have to go to a larger size. I think these are 9mm. I could be wrong, but I think that's what the size is of them. But anyway, I'm going to pull off the red clip from the trim here, put it on that green one, and see if that holds it in place. All right, try the green, and the actual neck on it, which slides into the panel, is smaller than the red, so it wouldn't stay in place. So I don't think that's going to work. So what I did is I took the nylon washer or the foam washer off of the red one, just to see if that'll give it a little more bite. It seems like it may have. Seems a little tighter. I can still pull it off, but it doesn't seem as easy. So I am going to leave this as is for now and drive it around and see what happens. So to be continued on this saga. So next project I want to address on the MR2. This is revisiting one that you would have seen previously if you follow my channel. I got a second glove box door for this car because the one that's in it is pretty faded and it's like you can see the white through the paint. Doesn't look really good. It's just worn away, as a lot of them do. So I'd ordered a pre-owned one off of another 93, but I guess it's a later year 93, and from what I can tell, I believe there was a change mid-year 93, or maybe it was early 94s, whatever it was, where what's considered black in this car is like a really, really dark gray, and what's considered black in following model years is actually black. So I tried putting that glove box in, and as you saw if you watched the channel, it did not look right. So I did some searching online, and I am a big fan of the SEM products. So I got graphite SEM interior paint made for plastics and whatnot. Their paints seem to be pretty good as far as holding up when doing interior work. And the graphite is basically the darkest gray I could find from them. Anything else was black or lighter. So what I'm going to do is walk through the process of prepping that black glove box, because I'm not going to mess with mine in case this doesn't work out. I'm going to do it on that black one and see if I can get a good color on it and see how it will look in the interior once I am done. So I'm going to get the materials together and then start walking you through the process. So here you see the glove box in question that is too dark. So basically the process is you have all these little chemicals here you have to use. You start with the SEM soap to prep, and you use that with a scuff pad. Get it pretty cleaned up, and then you go ahead and hit it with universal surface cleaner. Basically you need to get it to the point where nothing beads up when putting this on there. Washing it with this and soap and water. There are detailed instructions on the bottles as well as online. Once everything is clean and ready to have paint put down, for plastic there are two options. There is sand-free adhesion promoter, and then there's the XXX adhesion promoter. And it basically depends on what kind of plastic you have. I originally got the sand-free, and the way you test it is you take a little bit of this, put it on the plastic, and just rub it with your finger and see if it melts. It'll melt into the plastic. It did not on this plastic. So whatever this material is, you then need to go to the default XXX adhesion promoter. So you'll spray this on, and then you'll go ahead and hit it with your color coat. So this is the graphite color coat that I will be using. All right, so I'm going to start, getting to work on these with the first step. And if you look at the adhesion promoter, this actually has all the instructions on what you need to do step by step by step as far as cleaning and prepping and getting it ready to refinish. So pretty nice. It varies different, the different products have different instructions on them. This is the one that seems to be the most inclusive as far as making sure you get the proper adhesion and everything. So I am going to go ahead and start with step one and get everything cleaned using the SEM soap and a scuff pad. All right, and here is where it stands after going at it for a while with that scuff pad and the compound. It's actually drying still because I just washed it under the sink. You'll actually see it's going to lighten up as it evaporates. But basically, according to the instructions, you're really just wanting to get the shine off of it. You can see there, I don't know what scratched it. There was something in that Brillo or the scuff pad that put a very, very fine scratch in it. I'm not happy about that. I may have to try and sand that out. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I went at it clean, go at it clean, just until the paint was off to the point where there was no shiny left to it. It's nice and dull when it's dry. So it's going to take a little while. Like I said, you don't have to take all the paint off. That just ended up taking that much off, getting it to the point where it had no shine left to it, no sheen. The gloss was gone. So I'm going to let it completely dry, see how things look, and probably move on to the next step. So it's been a few days and a few new scratches have shown up now that it's all dry. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and get some very, very fine grit sandpaper and try and wet sand some of these scratches out, just see if I can clean it up a little bit more so they're not showing when the gloss paint's on here. So I'm going to go ahead, see what I got, and see if I can do a little wet sanding and clean this up. So I've been a little bit, I went over it with a 400 grit wet sand and then finished that off with 1,000 and then did a real quick wipe over again, with what I was using before, the cleaner from SEM. You can still somewhat see it there. It's nowhere near as bad as it was, but I'm also getting to the point, if you can tell, where it's starting to take the texture out, and I don't want to do that too bad. So I'm hoping the paint will fill in a little bit and it won't be as noticeable, but I also don't want to have a flat spot there with no texture if I keep sanding at it. So what I do have to do is let this dry, because you can see the wet spot there. I'm gonna run it, clean it out in my sink real quick with just soap and water, and then let it dry real good. And then it should be to the point where I can hit it with the paint prep cleaner and then start doing the paint work. All right, next day, everything is dry, and I think I am in a pretty good spot to where I'm ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be to go over this with the final prep wash, and then I can start the painting. Before I do that, though, I want to mask off where I'm going to paint to. So I'm going to use like fine line masking tape and just match like what the factory paint line was. You can see the black versus the gray, and that's where the color was previously. So I'm gonna go around, get this thing all masked off, and then I'll come back when I am ready to start doing the final wipe down with the cleaner. And everything is taped off all around the edges, masked, so it is just the front face and the slight rollover that needs to get painted that I have exposed. So good to go there. So next on the list is going to be to grab the cleaner and wipe everything down. That is this right here. It's the universal surface cleaner, degreaser, things like that. It'll get rid of like any grease from your oils from your skin, things like that. So you basically are going to wipe it down, wipe it in one direction with a lint-free cloth. So that way, if you go back and forth, you're just going to recontaminate areas. So yeah, you go one direction and just wait for it to completely dry before painting. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down with this stuff. All right, wipe down number one is drying. I'm going to let that dry pretty good, and then I'm probably going to go over it one more time just to be safe, and then that will be prepped for the next step. All right, well, here is the final product. It's still drying. What I did is, after that prep cleaner cured and was completely dry, I used the XXX adhesion promoter. Per the instructions, I did a light misting coat, waited 5 minutes, then did a wet coat, waited 15 minutes, and then I proceeded with the graphite top coat. With that, I did 4 coats total, 5 minutes in between, and they were, kind of light coverage coats. I wasn't doing like heavy wet coats or anything like that. But here is how it turned out. Like I said, it's still drying. It's only been a few minutes since I did the last coat. It looks really nice. It's good coverage. My concern is that it is going to be too light, which stinks because this is the darkest color other than black that SEM offers in this, in like the gray black palette. So I really don't think I have another option other than their black, which is probably going to be too dark, obviously. So I am going to have to let this dry and cure, and then I will, take it and put it in the car and see how it looks. So I'm going to let this set overnight, and I'll be back once it's cured and I'm ready to compare it to the current one. All right, well, it has been a few days. I wanted to let everything cure, make sure it turned out okay. So here you can see the final product and what the color is. I did go ahead and remove all of the tape and everything that was on it, so it's all cleaned up. So now it is going to be time to see if this does match my interior. Like I said previously, I have a feeling it's going to be a little on the light side based on what the stock MR2 interior is, but I also had bought this glove box, which was black, factory Toyota, and it was a newer one, like by a year, and it was too dark. It was actually black. So here we go inside, and here is my factory glove box, and oh yeah, way too light. So that is not gonna work. I'm gonna have to do some searching online. This was the darkest color that SEM offered for interior plastic outside of black, and it obviously is too light. If you look at my interior color, this is a 93, and I mean, I know they call it black, but like I said, when I had actual black, it was too dark. So I'm gonna need to find something that is darker than this, because this obviously is not going to work. It's blatantly too light. So we are gonna chalk this one up as a fail and on hold until I can find a different option. Well, with that fail, that is where I'm gonna be ending this video. Been long enough, and now I need to kind of get back to the drawing board as far as the glove box goes. So there will be more to come on that. Also more projects coming on the MR2 as well as the other two cars. So if you like what you're seeing, you want to follow along, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I do review them and I will reply. And thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.